we were talking about self, and today I was going to talk a little bit about self-deception. Now I realize nobody here does it, but in case you run into somebody, no. But the fact is, you know, in life, or even in the church, community at large of the church, and even in the 7 churches in the Book of Revelation, there was a lot of self-deception, and a lot of people walk around with quite a bit of self-deception, and they're thinking they're what they're not, and they're believing the lies that they are something they aren't, and that all falls into self-deception. And the Lord wants us to receive and believe the truth and not be self-deceived. You realize the one you talk the most to is yourself. And you listen to what you say. And for the most part, you believe everything too. And the Lord is instructing His people, and specifically in the Book of Revelation to churches, to overcome these attitudes and to get beyond where they've been. And the various things that are causing to be stumbling blocks in our life are based in the fact that we have an unsettled spiritual condition. And that spiritual condition needs to be cleansed and needs to be balanced out. A lot of people, I say a number of people, think they're prophetic and they're really judgmental. And they think they're hearing from God and they're listening to themselves. And one of the hardest things for me to learn when I was starting out was to take that change from worldly thinking into spiritual thinking, and to hear things from God and realize when they were from God and not receive them when they weren't from God, and to have the discernment for that. Now God gives us discernment, but more people think they've got it than got it. Or in other words, they think they're walking in a deeper discernment than they are. And you know, Satan is the greatest deceiver of all, and he does it by influencing, and he does that by words of other people into our lives, so that will tear down our minds. And just like what we were just praying right now was to get rid of all those things that are self-destructive and have been mind-binding. Paul calls, you know, and talks about these angels of light that are really not of God. And he talks about the fact that there are a lot of ministers that are extremely controlling and self-deceived. And unfortunately, it is in the church, and they're teaching that self-deception. We have to realize that there, you know, the nature of man is basically self-deception, deceitfulness. That's just there, so we've got to deal with it. So to say that you've never had it, or you're walking in a clear thing, you're denying the truth. You're self-deceived. And a lot of things that people hear, or they say they hear from God, they're self-deceiving because they're saying it's God and it's only their own personal want. Well, I've got this and I do that and I'm this and this and this. And nothing spiritual about it. They're self-deceived. And the biggest area is when they blame things on other people. When they're self-deceived. When they blame things on the devil, well, yes, the devil will get in there, but in reality, is it our own human nature, and do we cause it by what we did? You know, or we didn't do that the Lord told us to do. And so we got to have, you know, more discernment operating there. Self-deception is inherent part of man's emotional makeup, and it's involved in our mental and spiritual makeup also. And many times, because we are self-deceived, we have a hard time seeing it or accepting it. People say, oh, he's so cruel. He's telling me I'm self-deceived. Well, if it's getting to you, realize it's probably there. You know, you have to deal with it. See, it's, you know, I was to a seminar recently, and they said, the bottom line, bottom line of everything is, number one, face it. Accept that it's there, and then get rid of it.
Right.
You know, and you can't accept it's there or face it if you're self-deceived.
Right.
You won't see it. And I'm not trying to tear people down. God has just been saying a lot that his people, in the church now, his people are very self-deceived. They're walking around in these little utopic worlds that are not of the Spirit. They're not of him. But if we recognize, say, okay, yeah, Lord, I admit it, I missed, okay? Now that for some people, they can't get the word out. You know, they can't get it out, you know? So, you missed, you know, and say, I missed it.
I missed it.
See, now you said it. I caught that. See, we will all miss it some point in life. And at other points and continuing points, unless we admit we missed it. So let's say it again. I missed it.
I missed it.
Okay. Now we dealt with that, let's deal with it. The fact is that there are many people, or I say many, there are people that are holier than thou. You think they're floating on a bubble. You know, we'll pop that little bubble, you know, because they are not holier than thou. They've got a mindset where they are so self-deceived, thinking they've got it all together and nobody else does. And the fact is that we all go through changes. We all go through transitions. And God has shown me, all right, we will miss it sometimes. We'll catch it a lot of times. But God, the devil's always trying to get us out of hearing God clearly. And that's what it's all about, to get us self-deceived and get us out of what the Lord's really trying to show us. If we deal with these things in a forthright way and we just call for what it is, it's going to help the whole situation tremendously. And it'll just give us the ability to get out of it quicker. After the prayers, many times, or it happens after prayer, I want to say this in the proper way, that people get together in the other room. Do you believe he said that? Oh, that's not me. It must be those other people because that wasn't me. And I'm like, yeah, it's you. Anyway, we're not going to overcome the sin unless we acknowledge it. And it's the type of thing that will hold us back from hearing the true things of the Spirit. We become, you know, it's like where they give you a shot, right? So they'll protect you from something. So they give you the germ, and they inoculate it with your, you know, your physical body. So the devil's inoculating you with sin thoughts, with self-deception, and so you become inoculated against the truth because you think everything is wrong. You see it backwards. And it's a sad thing because it comes down to people not willing to accept responsibility. Now, I know that's not a politically correct word, but hey, you know, responsibility is needed to be, you know, today in people's lives. People think they're an island unto themselves. They're self-deceived. People think that everyone else has these problems, but then they're self-deceived again. They're ignoring the truth from the Word of God. And, you know, we need to be upright, and we need to deal with the fact that we've become hardened against the truth by self-deception. And this self-deception will lead you away from the Lord easier than anything else.